Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. So today I wanted to talk politics, but not in terms of politics, but family politics. Just look at family dynamics and consider the politics that go on in your own home before you decide to discuss and amongst family, friends, social circles, your political views based on what you're shown in the news, and then defend a position without really understanding how that position of thinking applies to you and the way that you live in your home. So for example, you could have, a general consensus in the family of what is, the moral correctness of something. Oh, this is what we don't do. This is what we do. This is how we are. This is how we are not. Okay? Very plain and simple. And everybody is to kind of abide by those rules. Then someone decides to deviate from those rules and they go about it the wrong way. The wrong way could be the wrong way, meaning, because when you can see the other side of it, you're like, well, look, you could have done it this way and that way. It's like, how do you do it without causing the most consequence? How can you change a family unit, or how can you change how things are done in an organization if you're not willing to do it with the least amount of consequence? Okay, maybe that's not the right word I'm looking for. There's another word I was looking for. I think it's I can't think of it right now, darn it. Forget it. I'm sure there's a word. Casualties. Yes, sir. Thank you. Casualties, with the least amount of casualties. So how does that look in a family, unit? Easy. You have one person, let's say, that decides they no longer want to be part of that system. I'm going to venture out and do my own thing. Everybody's going to have someone that's going to be opposed to it. And then there's somebody that supports it but is too afraid to speak out because the majority are believing in, what whoever opposes it is saying. So it's like, if there's fear in the dynamic in the household, if there's fear of speaking up, if there's not a voice because your household is, family decisions are only made by one individual, two individuals, three individuals, depends, where you don't feel that you have a position in the matter, like family moving from here to there, you might think, hey, wait, I don't want to do that. Okay, you don't want to do that, but then are you able to express that? And if you're able to express that, are you given the responses that are valid? Because if you're not there making the decisions, it's either because you're not responsible and you're not the one managing what needs to be done. So if you are the one managing what needs to be done, and you say this is how it is, but other people disregard that because they believe that they're in charge in some way, it's because they don't see the bigger picture of how they're looking at a matter. And when they're looking at the matter, they're not really making it fair. It's easy to point the finger and look over there and say you can't do this, but not see how in your own reality you do it also, only in a way that's maybe not how you do it. They do it in a different way. And when you do it in a different way, but you're still motivated by the same incentive or this, you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to really look out for all these different dynamics that take place because it causes conflict. And then you think that when they're discussing wars and all that, and you're like, yes, let's do that. We're going to, you're using political figures to hide behind, to justify what you want in life. But if one side says we're about this and the other side says no, we're about that, and you cannot see yourself on either or because where you are is exactly how it is, then you miss the complete perspective. And because you miss the complete perspective, it's unbalanced, it's unjust, or it's unfair, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander, they say. Meaning, okay, and by that we're not talking, because people make some really dumb, generalizations sarcastically to justify a stupid position, or a position that they're not in agreement with, that they consider stupid. So it's like, oh, I don't agree with it. To me, that's dumb. So I'm just going to mock it and say something, very generalized, very whatever. But there's this underlying, no, you just say this because this is what benefits you right now. You're unwilling to see that you cannot say that this person is wrong and shouldn't do this, but then it's okay for you to do it and think that the outcome should be different for you. So how does this, okay, you have a group of friends, divine feminine. You're out with your girlfriends, you're having drinks, you're talking about everything, your jobs, your spouses, your children if you have them, whatever, your families, your friends, whatever. You're kind of like just talking about things. You might be going through something, and you'll have that one friend who doesn't matter if it's illegal or wrong or bad or you shouldn't, because it's not gonna benefit you, or it has potential to not be good for you in any way. You'll have that one friend who will blindly support you no matter what, just because to them that's how they're loyal. But they're not looking at how, and then you'll have the other friend that wants you to consider all options to be safe, and then to ultimately get to your own choice, your own decision about it. Then you'll have that other friend who's going to completely oppose you, and no matter, they're not even considering. It's just, no, wrong, you're not going to do, you shouldn't, no matter what. Like, I will disown you if you do that. And from that point, it's like, wait a second. You can see here that anyone that takes a position that you have to follow them or else, this person does not have your interest in mind, because what they're saying is what you want doesn't matter. Now, looking at this, like even on there's a show called The Morning Show, and there was an episode where the son had to allow the parent to choose lethal, what do they call those? To take themselves out by choice, right? Like medicated, and say sayonara to the world. And the son didn't want that for the mother, and the mother was like, yeah, I can do this. This is what I want. Those conversations people won't have because they are challenging, because of the level of control that one feels out of when it's something that they really, really object to or really don't want. And the only way that they know how to not allow something is to control and say, do this or else, or you can't do that or else. It's like that threat, no, or else. I can't sit by and allow you to do something that I deem is not in your best interest, because I see this is the difference between somebody that wants to control you versus somebody that's genuinely giving you options that are in your best interest. And then you can't be the hard-headed person to stubbornly say, no, this is my choice. if you're making a choice out of fear, if you're making a choice out of uncertainty, if you're making a choice out of despair or hopelessness, and somebody shows up and says, no, there's a choice, there's an option for that not to be how it is, for you not to feel the way you feel about that thing, whatever that is for you. I mean, people have different reasons as to why they think. It's like, give up on your dreams because you can't afford it, for example. But somebody that knows other resources of obtaining your dream could say, you don't have to afford it, you can do it like this, and they give you an option. You have to be open-minded to hear that and be like, really? I mean, it's a matter of reignite your ability to see the vision again, or reignite your ability to have faith in yourself, to believe in who you are, and not, this is like the sense of will and choice that we have. Like, I don't know how I got to this point of the conversation realistically, but there is a point. Yes. Oh, and I was just doing that. Okay. Yes. Your solar plexus chakra, where your will is, your sense of self, your core, who you are at the core, comes from being firm in your choices of who you decide you are. In other words, no, I'm doing this because I know what's best for me. Not out of, I'm doing this for me because it's going to piss you off, or I'm going to do this for me because I want to go against whatever it is that you're about, so I'm just going to, like, none of those things serve me as a person. So when I make a choice for me as a person, I'm making a choice that I believe is in my best interest. And that choice, if somebody says it's actually not, here's why, then that's definitely something to consider. But there's people that wouldn't look at any, it's like blindly wanting to do whatever they want without seeing beyond, the possibilities. And that's where a lot of indecision comes in. That's where a lot of people get stuck in making a choice that's best for them, because they get so caught up in the politics of the choice. Like, because I believe this, and I don't know if I could trust this opinion here. I believe that, but I don't know if I could trust this opinion there. And you're going back and forth about what you think people are, who's got your best interest. If you, I was going to say omit, but I don't think that's what I mean. If you get the people or the government that rules you, meaning the consensus that you identify with as, this is my jury, this is what's going to help me make this decision, or this is what's going to help me make, then you cannot judge the situation for yourself. You cannot look at it for yourself, which is why we have the court systems that we have, because they help us to make sense of something, to supposedly see the big picture of everything so that we can make an informed decision. But politics and people and friends have personal interests, and these personal interests sometimes don't take you into consideration. So if they're driven by fear, they're imposing their fear on you. If they're driven by egotistical reasons, by, personal interests, then they're putting you in situations that maybe are not for you. So the best way to remain, I guess, interdependent is to be and let be, right? You would think. But when you be and let be, and you don't express what you be or how you be right away, you're going to be fighting battles unnecessarily. You're going to be debating things unnecessarily. You're going to be distracted, out of focus unnecessarily from what it is that you actually want for yourself. And if you take into consideration your voice first, your knowing first, the only reason you would go out into and ask for others' opinions is when you're uncertain. Because when you do something that you're certain about, without anybody's opinion, there's only two things that could happen. One, you get into a ton of mess that maybe you could have avoided if you would have discussed it with someone. But sometimes you don't want to discuss what you want to do with someone because you don't need to ask somebody for their opinion, or you don't feel that there's a reason to ask them, or you didn't think there's any reason why I need to ask you about anything. I'm gonna go do what I want to do. But you get in a mess because you just blindly jumped into a situation that you were unfamiliar with. And now you have to seek opinion to help you because you're at a crossroads. And when you're at that crossroad, now you have to consider who's got my best interest in the matter. And you may not be privy to what motivates people to lure you to position A or position B, or you know what I mean? So this is the politics in one's own home space. A lot of times, if you don't know how to run your own home, when you run your own home, you know where everything needs to be, or where things need to go, because you're the one taking responsibility. You're the one taking on the charge of knowing what's best for me is going to be best for my family. And if there's a protest over that, or there's a complaint or a problem, bring it up right away, because when you bring it up right away, it can get resolved right away and made sense of. But the whole notion that you can be a part of a family and someone cannot go and speak to another person face to face about something, a problem that arises, a disagreement, or I don't like this, or I don't believe that, or hey, and it's personal. Instead of going directly to the source, they'll go to some other member of the family. And instead of bringing up the issue, alliances get created and little, issues get created. At the end of the day, it should be the best interest for all. The best interest for all. And primarily, what the person wants for themselves. What the person wants for themselves, if it's coming from a position of, this is what's going to make me happy to be who I am, and they're well informed, and they've been shown where this choice might lead you to this or that. But can you actually walk that path? Here are the paths that you might be, these are the consequences, or these are the obstacles that may present themselves. It's not to derail you from where you want to go. It's to make where you're going easier for you. So this is where trust comes in. This is where respect comes in. This is where having a foundation that says, nobody's here to control anybody. Everybody's here to be self-governed, to be sovereign, to mind their business, to do what they need to do for themselves, to lead a good life for themselves. But then there's these political alliances, and what people are willing to do or not do, and how blind people are to what's healthy or not healthy. And then all of those little nuances that come along with relationships and with, what is factual truth. One day the news is telling you milk is good for you, then they tell you milk is bad for you, or then they tell you, this is not healthy, and then they tell you, well, this is healthy, and it changes constantly. So then you can't really trust the voice on the outside. It's like you exist in a world with opportunities everywhere. That doesn't mean that every step you're taking, do you even know what journey you're walking? Do you even know what direction you're going in? Do you have your sights set on, this is the blueprint of how I want to live, or where I want to live, or the purpose for which I exist? And then it's like, okay, this is my roadmap. And you start going through your roadmap, you're going to find people along the journey. You're going to find, situations you find yourself in, conflicts of interest. And those are the times where you need to be centered with yourself. Those are the times where you really need to know who you are, know where you stand, and know where you're going. And learn to tune out the excess, and learn to tune out the politics, and learn to tune out everyone else's voice, and get to the source of where you stand on something, and where you're feeling resistance, or where you're feeling restriction, or where you're feeling where the flow of where you're going. Because what's the point of contemplation? What's the point of asking? What's the point of debating? What's the point of any conversation at the end of the day, if it isn't to exert your will to do what you please? Or to defend your right to be. So, anywhoots. Let's see. So, I'll give an example. Families go through divorce all the time. All the time. And there's always going to be, some people are going to feel like they have to choose between one parent or the other. Okay? And you don't have to choose one parent over the other. You have to have a relationship with both parents, and you have to decide, which parent has your interest at heart. If both of them have your best interest at heart, and both of them you have a relationship with, then you develop your personal relationship with your parents. People assume that the household, divided parents means divided, I don't know what the hell they think. That it somehow means that you're in a false foundation. It's not that you're in a false foundation. Is that the foundation wasn't solid to sustain what it needed to sustain, so it could be what it needs to be, so it could be in the position it needs to be in life. So those kinds of responsibilities and those like preferential dynamics and relationships, and you can deal with this but not with that, and over there you can talk about this but not that. It's like, no, some people have to take ownership of where they stand and be responsible for the energy that they're, it's like, it's one thing for you to discuss what you want to discuss when you want to discuss it, and it's another thing when I choose to discuss the same matter and you want to gatekeep and say, no, we can't discuss this because right now I don't want to discuss this. Well, you're the person that I'm having the issue with. And if you're the person I'm having the issue with, it's not about I don't want to talk to you. It's not about, it's about what is there to talk about? Why is it important to talk about it? And why does it matter? And if that becomes a whole battle of emotional judgments and, all of these things and competition, it never really gets resolved. The point is, how can we coexist while still providing our roles into the dynamic in the proper way? How can we coexist independently in the interest of all? Because it was in our interest to create life. So if it's in our interest to create life, then it should be in our interest that those lives are able to thrive. Okay, but it has to be in the interest of the, of the independent children to know where they stand as well. So I don't know why I'm even talking about this. Lord have mercy. I'm a soul. Because I feel that there's this old way of people doing things where it's like, because I'm the parent, I'm correct, I'm right, so your opinion is irrelevant, or this is how it's always been, and therefore, don't even open the door to that. And it's like, wait a second. The whole point of growth is to have those conversations, is to be able to challenge the rules of the home. There's no problem with challenging the rules of the home, but what are you challenging the rules for? Just to be challenging? Or because you have a plan for independence? If you have a plan for independence and you have a way of managing it or obtaining it, and you're doing it, and you're showing, look, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I just need a little help here, a little help there, then anyone can do that. Anybody can assist that. But when you're demanding independence while seeking dependence, support, to be dependent on support, it's like you cannot want to be independent while depending on someone, because that person's going to have a say. So it's like, okay, so now if I'm independent and you're independent, we both have a say. Now it's a matter of we agree or we don't agree. And if we agree, then we're great. And if we don't agree, then what? Now it's a matter of choice. And now the choice should not be because I want it this way, or because I prefer it like this, or because I like it like that, or because it's better that way. It's not about that. It's about because something here isn't working for me anymore. Something here doesn't feel like it's moving forward. Something here doesn't feel like it's growing. Something here feels stagnant. Something here feels like it's off. Something here, and okay, so then what is it? Well, whatever it is, get to the point of what that is. Well, we don't this anymore, or we don't that anymore, or I want to do this, and you say that I can't do that, and it's like, well, why not? Okay, let's get to the point of why not. Give me an actual, real reason of why not. And if you can give me a reason that makes sense, because I didn't realize that that's how it was, or I didn't know that that's how you felt. Oh, okay. Well, so then there's grace for improvement on the dynamic. If somebody feels hopeless about a situation, it's because nothing's been done about it. So how can you go there with the same old plan, or with the same old concept, or with the same old thing, and just because I want it this way, just because whatever that is. I guess I could get more specific and give like 50,000, different scenarios here, but I think everybody can deduce from what I said to make their own, those dynamics for themselves, because this is not just applicable in, you know, husband and wife, or, parents that are splitting up, or things like that. This is not just that. This could be, parents in your home and you're an adult, or you're still a child and your parents are very overly protective, for example, or overly controlling. So it's we got the King of Swords with the Death. So it's seeing the truth through the transformation. Through the transformation, you have to be willing to change your mind sometimes. Or at least be open to letting your mind be changed. Meaning, you can't just stubbornly stand on something that clearly isn't working for you or someone else. And the only reason someone else needs an explanation, or someone else needs, I guess you could say, support, is because someone else feels that you have a coexisting connection. Like, what you do affects them. So define that. Why does what I do affect you? Who are you in my life? And that's where a lot of conversations go left real quick. Well, what you mean? Someone could feel pressured by their friends. Things are not what they seem. I feel like they have to walk away from certain alliances that were trying to leave them out in the cold and move towards their own happiness. I feel like there's some energy that, my goodness gracious, this energy there might be someone that feels that them not getting their way is like the worst thing for them. Them not getting their way is the worst thing for them. It feels like feels like death to them, like a transformation that they're not willing to take. But it's what's necessary is a lot of compassion for this person, because they really don't understand. They really don't. They're very much in a feeling of pain that they're not open to making sense of, because they're so hell-bent on this is how it is, that they can't hear otherwise, that it's not. But I feel like they are going to get an epiphany. A Queen of Wands might bring an epiphany to this Nine of Wands individual, this person that's defensive, injured, reluctant to close out a chapter. I feel like the Queen of Wands is letting them know, look, you're tired of this. You've done more than enough. Like you need to stop. Just stop doing this. It's not working anymore. Like, move on to something new. I feel like they're going to give them the tools necessary to put the power back in their hands. This Queen of Wands is trying to put the power into someone's hands who feels that they've come to like the end of a cycle, that maybe it's the completion of a career, the completion of a, something they were very passionate about, something that they really, a dream that they had. And it's like, okay, no, this that hurt you, this that put you in so much, it really did a number on you. It's done. Like, you can put an end to it. And we're not saying end anything permanently. It's okay, how do I put this? It's like, yes, to this one particular matter, it's permanent. But in the big scheme, it's not permanent. In the big scheme, it's opportunities and options, exploration, discovery. What? There's more to life than this? It's like, oh, I never saw it that way. Wow, I never thought I could feel this way. Oh my God, I never thought that I could receive this, that I could be given this kind of love or this kind of energy. I could feel so inspired, but also confused. Like, this feels so good or so exciting, so different, but not sure what it is. There's so much choice. And I feel like this is going to be the beginning of a powerful alliance of friendships. If you can really let go of that one thing that really played on your ego. That's what it is. It's ego injury, and that's all. That ego injury kept you working more than necessary, doing more than necessary, being attacked unnecessarily, being victimized over a belief that didn't serve at all. And this Queen of Wands is helping you see that intuitively. I feel like this, if this isn't you, whoever this person might be for you, I don't feel like they're willing to walk away from some concept. It's like they're stuck in a certain conflict that they're not willing to let it go mentally. It's gonna take for a love offer to come through, something that's genuine, something that's sincere, something that pursues it or them. They have to feel pursued by this in order to reach that level of the quality that they're looking for, the output to be what it's supposed to be for them. Like, I want this to be significant, solid, like stamped, like, I don't know if this is marriage for you or if this is, the legacy of family for you that you're creating, or, the career, the home, the career, the lifestyle, the health, for it to be like, this is exactly what I need. If it's like you feel like it needs to, you'll know it when it arrives. It's like, no, the offer will be genuine, legit, sincere, and it almost comes across as naive or innocent, right? Where this is what put you in struggle in the first place, was being, I guess you could say, inexperienced in that realm, is what led to the disillusionment and the extra work and all that. But in this case, It's like the with the Magician card and this Queen of Wands providing you the vision and this alliance. When you're aware that, not to be blinded by all the opportunities or all the offers, you'll, because of who you've been, you'll be able to see this, that despite it being innocent and young in terms of the, even if it looks like you may want to tell this person, you might not know what you're talking about. You're still too young to understand, or you may not be prepared yet. It's sincere. It's sincere, and it's almost like I feel like you would feel like they're not trusting their intuition, that they're too young to understand intuitively. But I'm feeling like this is something that needs to happen for them to balance themselves and allow them to kind of like experience, like, it's like saying it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. It's better to let this person holistically go through that process of being in love with this, whether it's a person, place, or thing, and be in love with it, just being in that realm. I feel like that would be the change that's necessary for them to find their balance. Like, and so, I don't know, that sounds maybe like let them learn for themselves, or let them see for themselves. It's important that they experience this for themselves, like to give them the emotional maturity necessary to really have the dream that they want. But in order for that to happen, they would have to let go of the burden of the competition, of the old way of how they were doing things, and take matters into their hands and learn to open up to new emotional depths that's going to help them stabilize their vision or their goals. That's the message for now. I'll come back soon. Take care.